What a disappointing way to end the year for the Boston Celtics. What are your thoughts down below right now? What do you guys think of this? And are you guys as sad? My dad went to school in Cambridge. Man's heartbroken. He went to school in the 80s. So, in his mind, beside him and LeBron James and Larry Bird are the two greatest basketball players. But, man, the Boston Celtics bounced back from a disappointing 2020 to 2021. Brad Stevens made an aggressive push to bring back some players and acquire role players, and it worked. Even though Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart choked and Al Horford was the best player in the final game. And they fell short of winning that championship, but how did we get back there? Ime Udoka, phenomenal coach, one of the best defenses. So let's talk about it, because it's interesting as all hell. I want to hear your thoughts down below. What should Boston do? Why should they do it? And how will they do it? And why do you want them to make those moves? Let me hear those opinions down below. 150 videos a month. Like and subscribe. So, one of the first decisions that needs to be made is whether or not to guarantee Al Horford's $26.5 million salary. He's partially guaranteed for $19.5 million, which is a substantial amount of dead money to have for waiving such a productive player. They could also stretch that amount to reduce the cap hit to $6.5 million over the next 3 years. The main benefit of not guaranteeing his contract is save money, though they most likely have to trade him to avoid the luxury tax. Given how valuable he was in the playoff run and how light they are at the center position when Robert Williams III was out, it's almost a certainty that they're going to guarantee Al Horford and keep him. Assuming Boston keeps its eight highest paid players, that was a tongue twister, all of whom were regular parts of the playoff rotation, they're looking into the offseason being $8.3 million over the luxury tax with 14 players under contract. That is being factored in them signing the 53rd overall pick, which is their only selection in this year's draft, and using the mid-level exception to add a role player. That could push their projected luxury tax payments to $20 to $25 million. And assuming that the Celtics could become consistent taxpayers starting next season, they could enter repeat tax offense, I guess, as early as 2025 to 2026, because Tatum will be on a supermax by then, and Brown could potentially be earning a supermax as well. And Boston ownership will need to make a decision if they're willing to go into the luxury tax every year, if they're going to remain title contenders with a Tatum and Brown during their prime window. Now, let's talk about players and what needs to be done. I like the idea of them looking at Marcus Morris, Dylan Brooks and Will Barton, Monte Morris, Bruce Brown, Gary Payton II. We'll talk about those guys later. But look, Boston's most likely will use their taxpayer mid-level exception, which is projected at $6.4 million. And they might look to trade off Aaron Nesmith's contract and waive their 4 non-guaranteed players on minimum deals. And they'd still need to move off some of their core players or trade them for players earning less to open up the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is 10.3, which I doubt. But I could see them moving Aaron Nesmith and maybe waiving a few of those non-guaranteed players on minimum deals if they want. I do expect them to be taxpayers this year. And I think, look, this is a team that they have many trade exceptions this offseason, including one that's worth 17.1, 6.9, and 5.9. Collectively, right there, that's what? Okay, if you look at it, 12.8 plus 17, they basically have $30 million in trade exceptions. And both is interesting because they could see if they want to use it, and they only have a limited time to use it. So now, the biggest thing that this team needs is a 3-and-D wing player who can fit between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to give them a relief. Obviously, Bruce Brown and Gary Payton II would be great players because they prioritize the defensive mind players that Udoka and Brad Stevens like. Even though they don't bring quite three-point shooting, look at how Marcus Smart has done. Obviously, a player like Terrence Ross on the Orlando Magic would be great. I don't want to say TJ Warren, who's a free agent, or Jeremy Lamb, 2 Pacers, because they've had injury woes, but they could both be very good players. And like I previously mentioned, Will Barton, making about $15 million, is on trade block. He could be brought in. He doesn't offer much defense, but he offers a lot of offense. While Dylan Brooks, he can provide consistent offense. It can be inefficient at times, but he brings this aggressive bully ball style of play that Boston would love. He's making similar money to Will Barton, $15 million a year. He's signed, I think, for 2 more seasons. And he could be somewhat cheap because his value seems like it's middling. It's gone a little down, but it's not at its highest. And the Celtics have all their future first-round picks going forward, and they've shown willingness to trade them whenever they need it, as we saw Horford and White being brought over with draft picks being utilized by Brad Stevens. And now, they have several players eligible for extensions. Grant Williams is one of those, shot 43% during the playoffs on almost 5 attempts, and 41% during the regular season, and he did a great job matching up with Antetokounmpo, well, helping them beat Antetokounmpo. But, you know, I think, yeah, he did a good job on defensively on Antetokounmpo. I wouldn't say he shut him down, but he did great. And Williams' 3-and-D ability is great, and I think he'll get a similar contract to Larry Nance Jr., who's making $9.6 million. And they may have to give Williams an annual salary that's worth more than the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Jaylen Brown is extension eligible, and they probably will give him something, and it's unlikely that he'll accept anything way below the maximum salary. Al Horford is extension eligible, but the Celtics may require a significant discount or descending salary structure for Al Horford if they do re-sign him. Now, I think it's interesting because they have the Evan Fournier trade exception. They have the Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Dennis Schroeder, Romeo Langford, Bol trade exception, PJ Dozier, Bruno Fernando, Enes Kanter Freedom, and Tristan Thompson and Moses Brown exception. So they basically have over $30 million in trade exceptions, which is unheard of. Now, everyone that's locked up from, this is all the people who are locked up for next season. Tatum, Brown, Horford, Smart, White, Williams, Daniel Tice, Grant Williams, he's eligible to sign a rookie extension, Aaron Nesmith, assuming his team option gets picked up, Peyton Pritchard. Now, Nick Stauskas is non-guaranteed. They could waive Nick Stauskas, and they could decline the team option on Juwan Morgan. They could cut Malik Fitz. That's people were assuming they're going to cut. There's a team option on Sam Hauser. They're probably going to decide to either keep Hauser or Stauskas. I think they choose Hauser. Luke Cornett, he's a free agent. Matt Ryan, he's a free agent. Broderick Thomas, he's a free agent. So 7 free agents right there. And with their second round pick, I currently have them drafting Christian Brown with the 53rd pick. I have no faith in Christian Brown going in the first round. So Christian Brown is a guy they could look at. Michael Foster Jr., Jalen Williams, he's kind of an Al Horford replica. There's a plethora of players that they could go after. I want to hear your thoughts down below. That's the video.